In 1968, Richard Nixon was elected the 37th President of the United States after previously serving as a U.S. Representative and a U.S. Senator from California. After successfully ending American fighting in Vietnam and improving international relations with the USSR and China, he became the only president to ever resign the office as a result of the Watergate scandal. Nixon's visit in 1972 to the People's Republic of China, or the PRC, was an important strategic and diplomatic mission that marked the peak of the Nixon administration's renewal of friendly relations between the United States and mainland China, after years of diplomatic isolation. The 7-day official visit to 3 Chinese cities was the first time a U.S. president had visited the PRC, and Nixon's arrival in Beijing ended 25 years of no communication or diplomatic ties between the two countries. This was the key step in normalizing relations between the U.S. and the PRC. Nixon's visit to China was also an attempt to gain more leverage over relations with the Soviet Union. Nixon's policy of détente, a French word meaning release from tensions, marked a crossroads in American foreign policy and a timely commitment to reduce U.S.-Soviet tensions. The policy of détente was rooted both in world events and in a new ideological orientation by the Nixon White House. Nixon recognized the need for a new foreign policy, as the Soviet Union had reached equality with the U.S. in nuclear weapons, and it became too dangerous to continue their standoff. Nixon and his national security advisor Henry Kissinger moved toward détente with the Soviet Union in the early 1970s. They hoped, in return, for the Soviets to help the U.S. remove itself from Vietnam. One example of Nixon's détente policy was the announcement of the Nixon Doctrine, whereby the U.S. would scale back its military commitments and pass more responsibility onto its allies. However, it would continue to support its allies solely through military and financial aid. Another example of Nixon's détente policy was the Strategic Arms Limitations Treaty, or SALT. During the late 1960s, the United States learned that the Soviet Union had embarked upon a massive intercontinental ballistic missile buildup designed to reach the same level as the US. Years later, in January of 1967, President Lyndon Johnson announced that the Soviet Union had begun to construct a limited anti-ballistic missile defense system around Moscow. The perpetual threat of full-on nuclear war led to the Strategic Arms Limitation talks. These were negotiations between the US and the Soviet Union that were aimed at curtailing the manufacture of strategic missiles capable of carrying nuclear weapons. President Nixon met with Soviet President Leonid Brezhnev in Moscow to sign the Strategic Arms Limitation Agreements. At the time, these agreements were the most far-reaching attempts to control nuclear weapons ever. SALT I is considered the crowning achievement of the Nixon-Kissinger strategy of détente. The ABM Treaty limited strategic missiles defenses to 200 interceptors each and allowed each side to construct 2 missile defense sites, one to protect the national capital, the other to protect one ICBM field. Although Nixon would go on to face controversy with the Watergate scandal, most Americans and Soviets praised the SALT agreements as tremendous achievements.